in that space. Conversations are ongoing, but we're also supporting it with some of the projects that the Leave No One Behind. And of course, it's not the plan for Lagos State to have what you call a side event. Even right now, the process for accreditation has changed. Before you get accredited, you need to have a project, you need to have a pilot, and you need to have, to partner with you. So we're becoming more purposeful, we're becoming more intentional and directional about going to COP right now. It's not the usual jamboree that it used to be, and we're working towards that.
Will Owando Clean Energy also be attending the conference this year? But the question I actually had for you was, how can businesses balance profitability with environmental stewardship in the African context?
Thank you. I'll go first with the latter part of the question. Today, it's becoming more and more difficult for businesses, particularly businesses with our size, to be profitable on a sustainable level without investing in sustainability. ESG has literally replaced CSR. And literally every funding partner or potential funding partner, financing partner, or even a business partner wants to see your ESG strategy and your commitment to it, before they even do business with you. Banks are beginning to get tighter and tighter with things like that, even in Nigeria, before putting funds into businesses. So it's going to become more and more difficult for businesses to raise funds. Profitability is going to go hand in hand to Dr. Mayakodumi's last slide. It's going to be people, planet, and profit. Profit will literally become an outcome of your stewardship to the planet and the plans that you have, to deliver on the commitments that you've made. We're in the oil business on the one hand, and that's a pretty profitable sector. But it's not without its challenges, particularly in today's world. On the side of the sustainable business, which is Owando Clean Energy, it's not a widely profitable sector. An example of that is, take the electric buses that I spoke to earlier. Those buses you saw cost us $460,000, each one, that is. But the diesel engine counterpart cost about $130,000. Battery technology has improved significantly. The buses have, become cheaper. The 50 that we're bringing in, we ordered at $330,000. You can find even cheaper at about $200,000 if you trust the OEM. But here's the point. The commuter is going to pay in Naira. And he's not going to pay 1 Naira more for jumping on an electric bus instead of a diesel engine bus. The one that costs $110,000 against the one that costs $330,000. Same Naira. So whilst you're still trying to balance that, you then find the volatility within the currency space affecting your profitability. So when I bought those buses, exchange rate was 421 Naira to a dollar. You know what it is today. So when I said that back then that I would repay in 7 years, I'm sure now it's going to be about 13 years. These are the things that you see within the renewable energy space, but we're committed to it and we will make it work. Whether that will be at COP in Azerbaijan this year or not, I have my doubts. I haven't told my boss yet that we're not going because I don't want to go. When we looked at how much it will cost for me, my accommodation came to about $46,000 because Baku is a small city. Accommodation is a challenge. So the decent ones that are available are expensive. And I don't want to go. I can spend that $46,000 attending 3 or 4 other conferences where I will still have meaningful conversations. So I doubt it very much that this year we'll be in Baku.
Thank you. All right. So just because of time, I'd like to open up to the floor now for the audience to ask questions. Ushers, I think we have microphones to go. Perfect. Thank you. Just at the front here, please. Thank you so much. You have a question?
Is it on? It's on. On behalf of the Ransom Kuti family, I'm the head of the family, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank you all for such high-level contribution to Fela's memory. Can you please give them a massive, massive round of applause? You are the guys that should be our governors, senators, and members of the House of Rep. My first question is to Mr. Gumbanjo. You talked about the electric buses. I want to find out whether they will be cheaper, because you talked about, telling tales of how wonderful they will be and how you will enjoy the air conditions. So can you tell us whether they'll be cheaper? That's one. And whether you are also planning to expand the hydrogen initiative and energy and powering programs that you have to also not just the buses, but to power Nigeria, because you shouldn't just be thinking of one, you should be thinking of the rest of us. To both Mr. Okunuga and Mrs. Oshodi, we've been working a lot at how to deepen the Lagos State initiatives at the local levels. How do we build capacity at the local government level? Because at the moment, I see a lot of initiatives done by the state, but for sustainability, the local government should be doing a lot of these programs, and the capacity of the officials in the local government must be built up. How many of you have been to your local government? Well, you know the answer. The local government elsewhere are really the first port of call for everything. That is where the action happens. So I want to find out how much you are doing to engage with the local government, to build capacity within the local government. I want to go to my local government and meet your counterpart so that I'm not having to reach out to you in the state. When you talk of paneling a building like Zenith Sterling Bank, how much awareness are you creating in the communities when you are doing the program? So that you also partner, you don't just go there and do this wonderful thing for your company, but you're also using the opportunity to create awareness about the technology, about the impact on the citizens, and things like climate change, etc. And the last question is about green spaces. The green spaces in Lagos State is diminishing rapidly, and some of them, I believe, are not being used for beneficial projects for communities. Green spaces are so critical. I'm told that 1 or 2 square meters of green spaces has such an exponential benefit to the citizens of those communities. So what are you doing to stop taking over green spaces and possibly expanding them, so that in every community, we go back to those places, those times when we could do our fabu under the trees and congregate and celebrate with each other in ways that benefit the climate and the citizen. Once again, let me thank you all for giving us such a rich presentation and elevating our thoughts. I mean, Fela must be looking down on you and saying, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man. I think let's unpack the questions one by one. Mr. Majakodumi, would you like to start actually commenting on green spaces? Then Mrs. Oshodi, we can come to you to also comment on green spaces and local government areas.
Well, on
the last question on green spaces.
On the green spaces. Yeah, well, again, it's a reflection of how we get so caught up in selfishness and greed and just, me, myself, the reality is that there's countries all over the world that ensure their urban areas have green spaces, because these green spaces are giving you oxygen, they're cleaning the air, they are essential just for your health, let alone the bigger picture. In fact, it's not only good for the physical health, it's also been proven beyond any trace of doubt that it's also good for the psychological health. That's why one of the reasons why the Japanese are some of the oldest people in the world, because they practice what they call Shinrin-yoku, which means sitting in a green space. And, is it that I have to go to Accra or I have to go to Nairobi to be in a city with green space, let alone London? Do you know that more than 25% of London is green space? And we're talking of property that is extremely expensive. So again, we just hope and we pray that the conscience of the decision makers is pricked well enough, and they shall ensure that the green spaces are retained. I mean, the kind of battles that I personally have had to go through just to secure that farm that I had as a park. It's a massive battle, but I know it is a battle that we cannot lose. So yeah, more green space for Lagos. We pray and we pray and we hope. Thank you.
Mrs. Oshodi, what are your thoughts on this? What is the government doing to expand green spaces? And then you can also answer the question on local government areas.
So the Lagos State Parking and Garden, last park, they have a mandate to not only drive education for the usage of the green spaces and the parks that have been created across the metropolis, but they're also driving programs for reforestation, for tree planting in schools and areas where there are, those spaces. Unfortunately, Lagos is like a building, it's a construction site, and we're just beginning to, and that's part of the reason why Last Park has that mandate to ensure that we're infusing as much greenery as possible in, the local communities. I can't speak so much on how much they have done, but I do know that they're embarking on a lot of tree planting, and they're also in collaboration with the Lagos Coconut, LASCODA, the Lagos Coconut Agency, even also understanding that coconut trees are, good hedging, they can give hedging fronts for our beach and our coastal sides as well. So they're beginning to build up on that. So that's with the green planting. With regards to the local government, I think that again, it's important that we're very strategic about how we embark on that enlightenment and advocacy program. Number one, I have come personally to accept that for us to be able to establish as much sustainability with a program, we need to involve private sector. We need to involve private businesses, because as long as there is the angle of profiteering, businesses will always want to continue to operate. But the gateway, is for us to harness the right parties. And that's why within the households, the plan is to engage students, schools. So schools, tertiary, primary, and secondary. Most importantly, even the young ones, by instituting some level of extracurricular activities that share and create understanding of climate change and how to adapt and build resilience around it. Children are very, very strong influencers in households. They will call you out as an adult when you say something and you don't do it. So there are quite a number of plans, and Loma had already started that to an extent. We are already working with enterprises who have designed different communication landscapes. Some of them are into animation, some of them use songs, some of them use playlists, some creative measure to drive the narrative of climate change, and more importantly, circular economy as a panacea to addressing the issue. Because if they go back home and they talk to their parents about what they learn, and they also express the fact that they can earn, or they can generate revenue, then they catch their parents' attention, and they're more likely to listen to them. So schools are available to drive our narrative. We're also talking to businesses, like I said again, that every time we go to a community and activate it, the plan within the sustainable phase is to plant some MSMEs in that space. But even more importantly is to generate internally those businesses, because there's something about a local business that quick of that community, so it's not, you're not looking at a business like somebody has come into, because we're culturally driven like that, so when we find that it is one of our own that has started a business, and so beneficial to all the community members, then it's more likely to thrive over a period of time. So just establishing proper incubation programs, in business support, access to finance. How do they structure their documentations? How do they ensure that they have the right people working for them, the human resource, the marketing, and all of that? Just entrenching that sort of support for those communities and for those businesses ultimately will help. You would notice that I have not said so much about what government can do, because that has been tried and tested for quite a number of time, and it's not really hitting on the level of sustainability index that we desire. But if we get the people involved, if we get them to commit, cast that vision, and they're also able to see what they can get into their pockets, those who are doing it either on a full-time basis or like a side hustle, ultimately you get, we begin to tick the box in the area of environmental sustainability. We tick the box on economic, and also drive that social impact, within community to community. And also just to also understand that communities differ from each other. There are nuances and, culture and traditional and traditions and beliefs that you have to take into consideration when you're going through this capacity building programs. So, and then health centers are also very, very, very key. They're very, they're very granularized. If you drive a narrative through the angle of economic, drive it through the angle of their health as well, then you most likely get some level of attention, and you can also be able to create the change towards transition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. Is that on? Yeah. Let's come to Sterling Bank next. How much awareness within the local communities have you created around the solar projects in Marina?
Okay. I'll try to make this very short. In terms of awareness, We understand that we can't do this alone. Everybody, it starts with education, promoting the initiative around climate change, renewable energy, and so on. So what we've done is to, the strategy that we've adopted is to partner with different organizations, both public and private. We have the likes of RRA, Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria. We have the CBN. We have United States Agency for Industrial Development, and some oil and gas companies, some foundations. So the reason why we've adopted the partnership structure is that we can incorporate the idea, the agenda of other partners into one holistic intent, right? So as an institution, as a financial institution, you probably think, okay, the only thing you probably do is to extend funding, right? So we do not only extend funding. What we do is to also incorporate your ideas, to turn it around and make it work, right? In Sterling Bank, other than the fact that, okay, you are financing, what we've done is we've employed engineers working in banks to be able to drive initiative around sustainable energy. So what we do with CBN, for instance, we've deployed over 100,000 solar home systems across one house.
Can we keep the noise levels down, please?
Yes. So with CBN, for instance, we've deployed over 100,000 solar home systems to homes around Nigeria, right? That alone, in terms of impact, is huge. You are looking at about 2.5 million persons that will be impacted by that. We are looking at, for some other partners that we are talking to, for example, we have some oil and gas companies through their foundations that are providing some level of security. I'll call it security to make it simpler, like guarantees, meaning that if Johnson and Company approaches the bank for financing, maybe $100 million, you have institutions that are saying that, look, we'll guarantee in terms of payment up to 40% of the 100 million naira. That's another initiative. So everybody, right, in terms of partnership, is bringing something to table is to incorporate it and make sure that one is bankable, it has the impact, right? And we've been doing it, and we've seen that through that, the awareness is gradually getting to, not even gradually, is really getting there, right? And the reason why we are here, look, kudos to the Fela family. I mean, this is also an avenue to promote renewable energy, to promote what we are doing. Without this, a very good platform, for example. So, we will continue to do that. We'll continue to educate people. We'll continue to educate the youth, to appreciate renewable energy. Trainings, we are doing trainings constantly, to expose people to that industry. And one thing I wanted to say as a follow-up, madam, to what you said earlier about waste to wealth. One of the initiatives we did around the local government, right, is to engage the youth in picking bottles. For every bottle you pick, there's an amount attached to it. I think about 250 naira. For every 600 for every kilo that you pick. Now we open accounts for them, so you know that the moment I pick a certain kilo, there is a credit that comes into my account. And we've done what you call the backward integration by financing a company that's into recycling. So from the profits they are making, we are able to take that funding back to fund those of us, those that are picking the bottles and so on and so forth. And these things have extended to, the local government and the rest of it. So clearly the awareness is gradually creeping in on a daily basis. I mean, when you are paying like 800 naira per something will prompt you to go and look for alternative source of energy.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. And Mr. Ogumbanjo, EV buses, are they cheaper? Also, can we please keep noise levels down? We're almost done with the session.
Because they cost more to acquire, though they cost less to maintain, they can't be cheaper, not just yet. Possibly if grant funding is made available to acquire the assets, then they can be cheaper. Or if government decides to invest in the acquisition, then they can be cheaper. And maybe when the day comes, when we begin to manufacture locally, and I say manufacture, not assemble, then it could be cheaper. But today, for as long as we continue to import at the rates we do, not quite. However, on the hydrogen project side, what we're running right now is a pilot phase, just to test the technology. If it works, then we scale up beyond transportation into other consumption requirements. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We are going to take one or two more questions from the audience before we wrap up this session. We have a question over here. Who's got the microphone? Okay, sorry.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Okubanjo. No, Oando. So Oando already plays in a sector where we see the impact. I mean, the damages of exploring oil. I'm in support of Oando exploring and processing lithium into batteries, but I'd like to see I would like to hear from you, what plans do you have to leave the environment better than you met it, if you were to do that? Also for Lagos State, I live in Amuwo and I see the industrialization that happens within, a corner of Amuwo where there are so many industries. I'm wondering, aside, the interest to generate revenue and employment, what is Lagos State willing to do to ensure that those industries, when they come in, comply with your environmental plans? Are you willing to go the final all and shut down an industry for abuse of the environment in their businesses?
Okay, Mr. Ogumbanjo, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you. My parent company is an oil producer. We recognize the impact of oil production on climate change. And besides the funding of the establishment of Oando Clean Energy, with the mandate, as I said to you earlier, to design and develop climate-friendly and bankable projects, within the oil business itself, there is a strict ESG program that we have to decarbonize our operations. And I'll speak to the three elements of it. Number one, the production. That's the oil production for the field operations. Today, we power our equipment on the field using diesel generators and gas generators in some cases. We have partnered with NNPC RTI is the research, technology, and innovation arm of NNPC. To generate geothermal energy and begin to use geothermal energy to power oil and gas operations and production in the Niger Delta, displacing the use of diesel and gas. That way, you decarbonize your operations. That's on the field. Now, a huge part of the oil and gas space is logistics, whether it's land, swamp, or high seas. We also have a plan to decarbonize our logistics, starting specifically with land logistics. So essentially what we're doing with mass transportation with Lagos State, we're doing within our own operations by changing our vehicles on our operation basis across the country and providing charging to our employees for free if they pivot to electric vehicles for their personal use. So that's on logistics. Then on the facilities themselves, our offices across the country, you will begin to see where possible, where we use micro turbines, that's wind turbines, the technology is improving. So in Lagos, for example, I mean, if you take Wings, besides doing what Sterling Bank's done with using solar for the facade, we haven't done that. So if we're going to integrate anything at Wings, it's to look at biodiesel to displace our diesel consumption for the generators, put certain micro wind turbines on the rooftops so that we can generate renewable energy from that as well. But when you go to our out-of-station bases like Port Harcourt, it's a huge real estate. So we have enough space, whether it's rooftop or even land, to put solar panels and batteries. That's what we're looking at. Facilities, decarbonization, logistics, and field operations. Thank you.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, just before I answer, the industries you're talking about in Amuwodofe, are those manufacturing, are they producers? They're producers. So if you have noticed or you observed that there's been two mentions twice now of ESG. There's the ESG framework and then there's the extended producers responsibility. Under the ESG framework, FMCGs and private sector organizations, just like Mr. I'm trying to remember his name now, from Sterling Bank had said that they funded some businesses to help them in their social impact within the community. Financial institutions have that responsibility to work with MSMEs in the mopping up and recovery of materials in terms of packaging for communities. Within the ESG framework, these organizations have their own contribution to make by establishing models for collections. And this is where the knowledge of it is also important, you know, within a community, because you can demand for it. You can go to these organizations and ask what model for material recovery they have with regards to their packages. You know, this also opens up the opportunity for people who want to start, who want to create startups for collections, because it is a value chain. Okay, so in Amuwodofe, for instance, if you have somebody who produces maybe cosmetics, and you find that a lot of those sachets or what it is that they use, you know, is littering the whole area, then that means that their own material recovery model is not in place yet. And they then have to drive their sustainable practices within the economic space, within the environmental space, within the social space. It is also governance, because they have to be transparent, they have to be accountable, and that two-way stream has to be established. If we can take this sort of conversations into the communities, into the grassroots area, then we can demand this accountability and we can call those manufacturers and producers out. But I must say again that there has been a ban. There's a ban, you know, that has been in place for almost 1 year right now on styrofoams. Now there's one that has been improved upon on single-use plastic. So you notice that over time, we're not going to be having those small nylon bags, the black ones, the colored ones, the styrofoam packages, you know, the straws. You know, there is a ban. There's a policy going on that. And there is also a conversation with producers and manufacturers, with government, so that they're able to transition away from production in terms of their circular procurement, and then they can begin to invest more in what is, you know, permissible by the government. So it's a what you call it, the push and pull. It's a push and pull effect. But it's also important that as we throw out this carrot, you know, the stick stands, but at least The carrot is that people should be more educated. They should also be informed about what they are deserving, and they should request and, demand for it.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I've been told that we do need to start wrapping this session up. I would have loved for us to be able to take more questions, but our speakers are still around for a few minutes anyway. So if you do have any questions, you can ask our speakers. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you so much to the Kusi family as well. We're truly grateful for this. And I'd like to hand over now to my uncle, Mr. Segun Buckner, for the official vote of thanks. Please give him a round of applause.
Everybody say yeah, yeah. I think today has been quite eye-opening for everybody, because Nigeria talking about sustainable energy and gas and the things that will push us forward into the future. A few years ago, we were not thinking about that. We were thinking about other things. So thank you all for coming today to at least open our eyes to greater possibilities of our beloved country, because we have no other but this one. Please give them a round of applause first. As you all know, Felabration has been going on for a very long time. And it's a beautiful way of remembering Baba. And a few of the things that we do during that includes the art competition, the dance competition, fashion show, dressed like Fela, and the schools debate. And what we have at the end of each symposium is an opportunity to view the arts competition winners and also pass on their checks to them. And we're going to ask one or two or three of our speakers to help us assist with that. So just bear with us. Do we have the artist in? We do. We have this first, second runner-up, Clara Aden. Where's Clara? Hey, Michael, bring it closer so I can. Yeah, why not? Yeah. That's a beautiful piece of work there. Her check is going to be handed in by my lovely niece, Leila.
It's a competition.
Please give her a round of applause. Give it. Please give her another round of applause. Thank you. There's a check of 250,000 naira. Next. Now we have the first one up, and that's Michael. Take the check from her, please. Thank you. Okay, take the. Okay, it's okay. We have Anden Christopher Edwards, please. Anden Christopher Edwards. I'm going to ask Uncle Desmond to. Uncle Desmond. Uncle Desmond, how are you? We want you to present the second check. Can we have the painting, please? Second check. And that's for 500,000 naira. Well done, well done. Please give them a round of applause, please. Yeah. And now, last but not least, we have the first prize winner, an amazing piece of work by Emmanuel Benga Eweja. Where's Emmanuel? This is Oshodi. Ah, Emanuela, not Emmanuel. Okay. And that's a check for 750,000 naira. I would like to give this opportunity for the thanks for the judges who presided over this wonderful competition, where we have artists from all over the world coming in, presenting their art, their pieces. So I'd like to thank Prince Mrs. Shilon, Otumba Mfu, Olifade, and our beloved Sarah Bulus. Thank you very much for that. Once again, let me use this opportunity to thank our special guests who came today. We had an amazing time. Thank you so much for the information and the knowledge you've given us, and an opportunity to start believing in a better Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you. Also, one last thing for people who are in the congregation, we have lost a member of our Felabration committee, organizing committee, Mr. Malam Abdul Ndubisi Okuchime. We'll be having a night of tributes for him tonight, starting from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So everybody be there. We'll be square. Everybody say, yeah, yeah. Okay. Can the members of the family come up and take pictures with you? Ah.